Hi, a very good morning to everyone. My name is Rahul, and I'll be your MC here today for this Cyber Podium event. And before we start, I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone. It's a pleasure to have you joining us here today. And the topic we have today is the sharing of economy for cybersecurity. And with us to help understand better this topic and explain it, we have Mr. Hon, CEO of NetAssist Malaysia. Mr. Hon, yeah, I'll
Hi,
leave
good
it.
morning.
Hon. Yeah, good
I'm
morning to
here.
you
I'm
too.
ready. Thank you very
Okay,
much for the opportunity. Yes.
take the floor.
Okay, cool. Good morning. Thank you, Naksa. And of course, thank you, MDEC, for the opportunity today to share. And thank you, CYDES, for the opportunity to share. When I say share, actually, my agenda is pretty much also looking into how do I change the mindset. People talk about new norm. That's why I structured my question in such a way that, hey, my topic is as a question. um, the adoption of cybersecurity technology is not really still encouraging, and that's why you see a lot of cyber attack. So, which is why we say, hey, I think is there a way we can actually challenge the thinking, so that we actually change the way we think, and so that we can actually get ourselves more adopting and use more cybersecurity and secure our business and secure our environment. So, with that, let me just start off by introducing NetAssist. NetAssist ourselves is a managed security service provider. The whole idea of NetAssist actually position our business also in such a way that we actually solve the problem of authority cybersecurity in terms of people and process, and yet see whether it can actually enable cybersecurity as a business enabler. Next thing is that I like to actually, of course, people are talking about when it comes to managed security services. The first question people like to ask is that, who are you? You say you are good, but who else can say that can justify that you are good? So, which is why for cybersecurity industry, a service provider certification is very important. NetAssist, we are ISO 27000 certified specifically in the area of managed security services, monitoring services. And also another international certification is this thing called CREST. It has become now a new trend, a norm in many countries' government, trying to achieve, especially the central bank of certain countries, trying to make sure that penetration test companies, they actually need to be certified and being scrutinized the way they do things. Which is why CREST certifications is one of the certificate that actually try to actually achieve the standardization and maintaining the quality of cybersecurity pen testing. Of course, whatever services we deliver, we are insured. Also, NetAssist is a cybersecurity Malaysia certified partners, and these are all the various awards proven, showing that we have a proven track record. Especially in 2019, we actually talking about hybrid in the sense of detecting and monitoring and response. So that's why we call it managed detection and response, which I will actually elaborate more. So these are all the various different awards, not only in Malaysia. In fact, we actually got some awards from other countries like Indonesia and so on. Of course, cybersecurity is all about, do you have the people who deliver the services? So these are all the various certifications from the on-prem to the cloud to the application to the network. So these are the certifications that we have to deliver our services. But at the end of the day, the main core idea of the entire concept was helping our client to find vulnerabilities. And vulnerability comes in very different forms. It can be people has vulnerability, and that's why we try to solve the vulnerability of people, the weaknesses, by providing security awareness training. And also, we actually help the customer to solve the vulnerability of process by looking into the business processes and see whether is there any thing that we can improve. For example, based on ISO 27000 or NIST. So we do people vulnerability assessment, we do process vulnerability assessment, and we also do technology vulnerability assessment, which is very common. People like to call it pen test, and assessment of your network, the application on the cloud. But at the end of the day, there are situations that you have to provide a total solution where actually you implement for them, do the implementation for them. But the biggest differentiation here about NetAssist is that we're actually doing security operations center, 24/7 monitoring, which I will elaborate a little bit more. But of course, nothing speaks louder than the customer reference side. These are the trusted customer who engage us for over the last few years, last many years, providing the services to them. But you look around today, there's still a lot of cyber hacking, data leakage, cyber attack happen. Why is that so? Many of these companies, they are not lacking of funding. In fact, they have millions of dollars. Whatever I'm showing here are local example. Whatever I'm show, what I want to talk about is that why are all these companies, despite of having perhaps millions of dollars of cybersecurity budget, they hire the good cybersecurity expert, certified people, but yet they still get compromised. Another fact I'd like to bring up to you is that, in fact, 2020, based on one of the statistics that I read from one of the research, within 1 year, there are more than 18,000 new vulnerability. This is one of the more conservative ones. In fact, I've seen some of the report even saying more. But this is the fact that almost every half an hour, there's a new vulnerability that being discovered and made available for the exploit, for people to exploit, for the cyber hackers to actually take advantage of. And another fact is that we have seen, then we start asking ourselves, why people having expensive next generation up-to-date firewall with AI features, with very interesting concept, but yet they still fail. So then we start to understand that, hey, firewall until today were not really successful to handle insider attack. If you did not patch it properly, we have seen many cases, it actually caused the cyber attack. And the configurations is not done correctly. And we come to legitimate traffic, but it comes in a huge volume, which people call it distributed denial services, actually trying to achieve stop you or slow down your performance of your network. And when we see a very common mistake is that a lot of people, when they implement their firewall, their policy of firewall will actually pretty much focus on the network layer, which we can understand very well, because actually when they start implementing a firewall, it's okay, these are the typical things of the networks, there's vulnerability, this is the policy they put in place. But you and I probably agree and have seen it. Application layer attack is getting more serious and rampant, and a lot of attack come from application layer. But your application keep changing. Every now and then you have your patches, new update, new features. So we always have to ask the customer is that, when was the last time you really review your policies, look into the application layer policies, and correlate back to whatever the application has changed. And another big common reason why a firewall failed was that perhaps your firewall has done a great job, giving you a lot of alerts. And then we always have to ask, when was the last time you have really go through all your alerts and make sure there's no false positive, they're all false positive, there's no real attack that you have been missed out. Have you act on it? Have you reviewed? So there are simply too many things to actually look into. And another biggest reason, of course, you and I actually have been hearing a lot, is that about human mistake. Human is always the weakest link in the environment and causing a lot of cyber attack. Which is why we actually look at it and then we say, hey, I think we can roughly make a conclusion that firewall has done a great job, especially from outside traffic trying to come in, the malicious activity trying to come in. Probably they have done a great job. However, firewall will not really do much, will not doing a good job for any traffic that initiated from within as it encrypted. So from inside out activity, firewall pretty much will just let it go. Which is why that also explains exactly the reason why phishing become one of the biggest top threat. Why? Because cyber criminal also understand the fact is that the best way for me to compromise you is to send you some email and get you to initiate the activity from within, get you to click and start communicating from within. That's how we actually get you compromised. And another thing is that when a ransomware happens, we actually look into it. We try to understand the entire flow of why a ransomware happened. From the stage of initial distribution of the emails, the malicious email, to getting you infected with the downloader, and then from there they start communicating from internal with the external. And then after that, they do the file search within your organization to look for the critical file, the important file, and encrypt, and eventually ask you to actually pay money. But you actually, when I describe all these things, you realize that there's a lot of things to be done. So for a ransomware to ultimately get you encrypted and ask you for money, they have done a lot of job. And in between, it takes time. And there's a lot of telltale symptom of internal and external communication, which is why we start to realize that actually SOC can play a very good role to actually break the kill chain and understand where has it gone wrong, and stop the attack before it happened. But the challenge is that there's simply too much to do, too much to look into. Then how can we do it? In fact, this is just to give you an example. NetAssist alone, our team, we split into many sub-team. Each team have their whole hierarchy of junior analyst, senior analyst, level 2, level 3 analyst, with engineers, with consultants. So it's a team of people, easily 20, 30 people, to sit down together to understand the behavior and act on it. So that is a challenge of, do you have the budget to hire so many people, manage such a team 24/7? In fact, it has become, we call it global chronic shortage of talent. We've been hearing a lot. There is a lot of company having trouble looking for cybersecurity, especially security analysts. By 2021, 3.5 million of unfilled security jobs needed to be fulfilled. Another thing, in fact, we had start hearing a lot of big organizations, a big consultancy company, they were actually advocating the idea of assume breach. A lot of technology companies talk about, let's assume that your company has been breached. That has changed the paradigm of you planning for your strategies. The question next is that, I have put a lot of my budget into prevention. Now, next is that, have I put my energy and effort into detections, response? And that is where further investment is required. To run the SOC, of course, it's again come back to the basic thing of people, process, and technologies. It does a job of control your security status, making sure that they are compliant, your vulnerability assessment actually to meet certain governance requirements. They perform continuously monitoring user SIEM. When things happen, they provide incident response, and they actually manage the operation in the sense of, from time to time, change your policies, manage your identity, the Active Directory, your parameters, managing the policies. And when things happen, you need to actually respond, ensures that the process, the containment of the damage, blocking the necessary attack, quarantine the malicious activities. So these are the things is done by SOC. A lot of things to be done. So it is, to simplify it, it's like those days you have firewall, you have a lock, you have CCTV to make sure those people who are in your office still doing the right thing. And that's why today you have firewall, you have endpoint detection, but you still need a group of cyber security guard looking into your so-called cyber CCTV to look into the activities. This is what our SOC looks like in NetAssist. And of course, we have our regional appearance and partners, and we've been delivering our services, SOC services, to different countries. To simplify it, typically the bad guy would have actually blocked by a security solution. Your firewall typically will block the bad guy. They have the good technology, but a lot of time we have seen a lot of compromise happen because the guy who have the right ID and password will manage to come into an environment, which is why we deploy technology like SIEM to do the monitoring, correlated with threat intelligence, with other net flow and vulnerability assessment. And when we detect any abnormal, we inform you and invest together. Let's do the incident analysis. In fact, that's why people talk about virtual patching. Why? Because for the day the vulnerability has been discovered until the day that the patches can be deployed, a lot of organizations can take some time. Some take days, or sometimes even take weeks or months. Which is why a virtual patching become one of the idea people are talking about, whereby, hey, continuously we actually know that what are your vulnerability, and then we correlate, we understand the behavior of this vulnerability. So what we do is that we do a setting on the SIEM, and when there's any such activity, it's trying to actually address to your server, and we know that your server is not patched, we can actually quickly inform you so that you can do something quickly about it. So eventually what we try to do, we talk about, is that trying to achieve the idea of protections to your unpatched server. Of course, this is not the best idea. This is not the best practices. But this is a temporary solution for some of the cases where your vulnerability is there, but you cannot patch, but SOC probably can play a role in that. The next thing is you and I see now hear a lot of people talk about working from home. People are now targeting directly to your home user who are using their home PC, and those machines are not protected by any firewall. What more, there's this you heard about fireless attack. So this is why the next thing we talk about is managed detection and response. How it works? We put sensor into your environment, your servers, your PC, and we deploy AI. But AI will give you the alerts, and you actually need to decide whether for certain cases, what do you need to do with it. That's where a SOC again play their role to verify is this a real attack. So we have a standard SOP to see what whether is this behavior met certain criteria of a real attack. If yes, then we communicate with the console, and that's where the quarantine can happen. And with that, we will be able to actually manage and protect and detect and respond to your endpoint who are now outside of your network environment. They are now working from home or they are in the cloud. So how do you do the protection? So this may be one of the good solutions for you to solve the problems. Just to give you a typical idea of a managed detection and response. For a environment of 300 over machines, people talk about big data. So we're actually collecting your data from your WMI, your registry, all the different information. So for a situation of 300 over machines, we are talking about 500 over millions of events per month. So it's humanly impossible for us to analyze, which is why people are talking about AI and big data to do that. But eventually, you need a real team of SOC people looking into the detections, verifying the genuine, whether is it a genuine activity or it is a attack. Then from there, actually give you the recommendation, and that's where you actually more care about. But if that's the case, do you again have the people? NetAssist, we talk about a holistic cybersecurity technology protection. The SOC shall actually comprises of technology, intelligence, analysis, and experience. And in different segments, technology itself, of course, people talk about big data, the security orchestration, automation response, the AI. The intelligence is people talk about the dark web crawling, the URL blacklists. These are the global and then the local threat intelligence. And the analysis of behavior, contextualization of your threat. So all this you need to put in place to make sure that it's effective. If that's the case, an organization need to actually do so much thing on hiring the right people, putting the right process, buying the right technologies. A lot of money is involved. Then then the next question is that you and I hear about Airbnb, Grab car. So at the fraction of the cost, you don't need to hire your own driver. You don't need to buy your own car. And you pay on demand as and when you want. Click on the phone, you pay on demand, you get the service at a fraction of the cost. So we are thinking is that a business model? So we are trying to actually throw out the challenge. I believe if we can actually solve this problem, cybersecurity adoption can be then being widened. A lot of organizations will then can afford good cyber protection without paying huge costs in terms of human resource, in terms of the know-how and the technology, the assets. So with that, we like to actually challenge the norm, challenge the thinking. NetAssist, we're actually looking at that. We're talking about pay per use, where our end user, our customer, no longer has to hire the full team, get the certification, buy the technology. You know, technology actually advanced and they upgrade every now and then. So you afford to actually buy this technology and keep changing? Is there an economy of skill where a central operator actually can do it themselves? They actually then offer you as a service. So you just achieve the economy of skill. You pay pay per use, and only and when you need it, you activate it. Yeah. So in fact, for those partners who are actually listening to my sharing today, we also actually have this similar concept. In fact, we actually do it in other countries. Same thing like it's like McDonald's. Whenever you go to other country, you look around a different brand, but you look at the McDonald's, you look in there, you can be pretty much confident that hey, their burger is still the same old burger everywhere in the so you actually trusted the brand no matter where you go. Same thing. For certain organizations, especially some of the IT company, they want to talk about transformation. They currently probably doing some cloud, some network integration, some application, and they know that cybersecurity is important. Then the next question is that, do you want to invest into putting these resources and deliver it to your customer, or is there a way you can talk about franchise? perhaps your customer is actually know you very well about your forte. Let's say your forte is more on the application development. They know that you are good in application development, but I'm really concerned about cybersecurity. And when you tell your client that you are good in security also, they probably have a bit of reservation. So I say, hey, don't get too worried. I'm partnering with a brand, and this brand has a proven. So in that case, a franchising model is workable. So which is why again I'm here to throw the new idea about, is there a way we can talk about franchising of cybersecurity, whereby you actually give the confidence to the branding, the know-how, the SOP, the track record, and yet you actually share the technologies and you deliver the technology again at a fraction of the cost. So moving forward, whatever we see, I think is quite in line with the mega trend. 80% of organizations are already planning to outsource their security operation to MSSP by 2021. In fact, many of them are already using cloud. You and I have seen close to like more than 95% of them are actually believing in cloud. Actually, come to think of it, cloud is a sharing economy. Someone invested in the hardware, so you pay per use at a fractional cost. It is a model of sharing economy. We actually seen it, and we actually read about all the statistics. Cybersecurity is become a hurdle, and because of the concern about the security of it, a lot of people agree that hey, actually because of cybersecurity, a lot of innovation cannot be done, or in fact, even for some of the mission critical initiative cannot be done, simply because we worry about cybersecurity. And we have also been hearing a lot about the decision maker or the IT business person in charge say, hey, we have difficulty to actually justify to get the budget. So this is where we actually like to see. I think we have actually seen another report showing that globally the trend now is that slowly and slowly, I'm not actually getting faster, more and more organizations are trying to position cybersecurity budget to become a business enabling budget rather than defensive. All this what traditionally, when time come to spending of IT security, people say, oh, it's about it's about spending to prevent hacker, to prevent data leakage. So it's cost of operation, cost of business, trying to protect our business. However, we actually start seeing, and we also actually believing in that, where let's talk about how do I use cyber security investment to make ourselves different, to to enable us to do more business. One of the very simple question, simple analogy is like NetAssist ourselves. We invested in the cyber insurance, we invested into the certification of ISO. Because of all this certification, so our customer have confidence, hey, you are serious about your business, you invested cybersecurity into your business, now you can do more business. I trust you, I do business. Imagine that if they in front of you there's two vendors, one of them actually serious about cybersecurity, they invested substantial amount of certification money and technology to secure the environment. I think I would prefer to do business with them because I can be rest assured that my whatever confidential information that I share with them, they will be keep it confidential, rather than who someone who every day talk about wanting my business, want to have a good pricing, but ended up they don't care much about cybersecurity. So I may have a high risk of the data, my data being shared with them, and then they actually accidentally take it out. So with that, I hope I can actually give you a new change of idea. Let's think about, let's stop complaining about, oh, no money, we cybersecurity is a lot of money, we cannot afford to do that. Let's pray that it doesn't happen to us. Let's think further. Okay, is there a way that we can use cybersecurity investment as enabler? And then the next thing is that, is there such a way that we can actually do it in a cost-effective way? And when the whole wide world is talking about Airbnb for sharing economy, Grab for sharing economy, it's a cybersecurity for sharing economy. Thank you very much. I like to actually end my sharing today here. Is there any questions that I can address?
But I think it's fair to assume that that's because the presentation was actually crystal clear. Even me, someone who never really dealt with this kind of things, I can understand a lot, and especially the one that piqued my interest was the firewall failures, because like a layman like me, we always just assume that when you say firewall, it's safe. I didn't even know that they could fail us, and then you explained how and why they fail us in different ways. Um, So yeah, that was very interesting. So yeah, without any other questions, would you mind if I close it, Mr. Hon?
Yeah, thank you very much for the chance to share. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you
Yeah, we
very
would
much.
like to express our gratitude to you too, Mr. Hon. That was a very good
Thank you.
presentation. It's a pleasure to have you here. And to everyone as well, thanks for spending your morning here with us. We have many other events, many other sessions later you can join us in. And on behalf of CYDES, and I would like to close it with thank you very much, everyone, and have a pleasant morning.
Thank
Goodbye.
you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.